I 30 don't have the best relationship with my husband's mom. Since day one she tried to make remarks and compare me to her. She then tried to get on my good side and started overly praising everything I do and sometimes even copying me, like that one time when she literally dyed her hair purple just like mine, and when everyone pointed out how ridiculous she looked, she actually blamed me and accused me of trying to make a joke out of her. So, anyways, my husband and I took 2 weeks off work to go visit some places out of the country, tourism in other words. Thing is, I was the one who saved up for and arranged for the trip. My husband was responsible for booking the tickets. My husband's mom wanted to come along and threw temper tantrums when I said no. She called, texted, sent people to talk to me into letting her come, even threatened to call the police and make some complaint up to get us to stay if she can't come. My husband said we should just take her, but I told him he was wrong to tell her about the trip in the first place. He gave me an ultimatum. Said he wouldn't go if she can't come, and I told him I'd gladly call his bluff, which made him take his words back and say fine. I will tell her to stop it because we won't take her. Things got quieter, suspiciously quieter. The day of the trip came and we got to the airport at 2 p.m. My husband was walking ahead of me and was looking left and right like he was looking for someone. I asked him, but he didn't respond. He led me to the waiting area and the first thing I saw was his mom standing there with her luggage. I froze in my spot. I felt a cold wave washing over me and I was fuming inside. She and my husband were hugging. That's when I quietly turned around and started walking towards the exit. My husband followed me while shouting at me to stop. He tried to stop me, but I told him off in the harshest way possible. He tried to say I was overreacting and that his mom was there anyway and I should let it go and not mess the trip up for us. I told him he and his mom could still go and that I was going home. I went home and sobbed into my dog's fur for several minutes. Turned out he booked her a ticket without me knowing. An hour later he came home yelling and raging about how pathetic and spiteful I was to walk out and go home and ruin the trip last minute. I told him he caused this to happen. He said that I was being so hard on his mom, it's ridiculous. I refused to fight anymore, but he kept on berating me, then called my family to tell them that the trip was cancelled and that it was because of me. My family said that I shouldn't have ruined it for myself and should have bare with it and done my best to enjoy it. Did I really overreact? I don't want to call the divorce card, but you should. You told your boundaries, you said no. She crossed it. Your husband told you he would tell her no, he lied. He tried to pin you in a corner by not saying anything and bringing her anyways and got upset. You refused to be a part of his little trap? And then to berate you? He's not a good man. He needs to go. Not the idiot. Not the idiot, at all. It does sound, however, like your husband is more invested in his relationship with his mother than he is in his relationship with you. He went behind your back and acted against your explicit wishes. While I can understand him wanting to include his family, to do so against the explicit request of his wife is awful. It's unclear if you share finances, but that would be another thing that he did without discussing it first. Airplane tickets, especially now, aren't exactly small purchases. Update. I don't know where to begin, it's been an absolute nightmare recently. And I feel like I was losing my sanity. So for more details about my situation, I have to admit that my husband's mom favors him over all his siblings. This affected his relationship with them and me as well. He's never seen an issue with how differently his mom treats him. It bothered me and made me feel uncomfortable. The whole dynamic made me feel uncomfortable. Going low contact has never even been an option. Like he has to see her or call her every day. Most of his siblings don't talk to him and I 100% believe it's because of his mom's favoritism, like I said. He does bear some blame for not seeing how wrong this is till this day. In many instances I found myself making excuses for his behavior. Even in my post. I did it spontaneously and I don't know why. But I guess it's because of how much I love him and because I really wanted to be able to work this type of things out without letting them affect our marriage. Regarding what happened with the trip, he tried to have a talk with me and most of what he said came from place of blame towards me. I just couldn't continue with this argument. I told him I needed space and that I would be going to stay with my sister for a while. He didn't take it well. He literally got up from the couch and opened the door telling me to go right then. In that moment and seeing how he was still not even anywhere near understanding what he has done just made things perfectly clear to me. I just had pictured years and years of my life being lived like that, and I was like, no. I can't do it, can't take any more of it, especially when he keeps focusing on being right every time. His mom can do no wrong. I'm always the aggressive, crazy, jealous, pathetic overreactor. All these people's opinions, advice and concerns were like a spark, like the wake-up call I really needed. Though I wish that it didn't get this far, but what's done is done. Right now I'm staying with my sister. I brought my dog with me as well. He sent me his last message telling I'm the one choosing to end what we had together, but I believe it's the other way around, especially with how he keeps making his mom the victim in the situation. It's become clear now that we keep going in circles with no end in reach, and I'm just so exhausted and overwhelmed. I'm not mad at him and don't expect him to change, but at least I'm given options to decide what's best for me and my future, even if it's separation and divorce. I'm sorry you are going through this, but I'm also so very proud of you. You are standing up for yourself. Putting yourself first. Looking into the future and making sure it will be what you want it to be. I wish you the best of luck. Give the doggo the biggest of hugs and lots of pets. I am so proud of you. My mother-in-law almost caused my divorce after she tried convincing my husband that I was abusive to our kids. He hid this from me out of embarrassment. It wasn't handled correctly, but years of therapy have helped our relationship survive. He knows she's crazy, at least. She has taken little ownership in her plot to end our marriage. I have nothing to do with her. You made the right choice. My parents have 2 kids, me, 26, and my brother Dan, 34. Dan had a rough time growing up, and frankly, my parents failed him. As a teenager, he struggled with severe addiction and mental illness, and they did almost nothing to help him. By the time he was done with college, he had completely cut off my parents. To this day, Dan and my parents are still estranged. I, on the other hand, still speak to my brother regularly. My parents, especially my mom, take every chance they can get to mourn the loss of their son and act as though my brother wronged them by leaving. Dan has told me he wouldn't mind reconnecting with them, but only if they reach out and apologize first. I've encouraged my parents to do this, but they insist that he betrayed them. I got married early last year to my husband Jeff. We have a happy marriage and he is adored by all my friends and family, but I feel like my parents have been crossing some boundaries. For example, whenever we've gone to visit them, they insist that he sleep in Dan's room, saying that their son, my husband, has come home and should sleep in his rightful bedroom. Before the pandemic, my dad would take Jeff out to sporting events and introduce him as his only son. Most of the pictures of my brother in my childhood home have been replaced by pictures of my parents with Jeff. The other day, my mom called to invite me and Jeff over for the holidays. I told her I wasn't comfortable traveling during a COVID spike. She was irritated but dropped it. Then she called Jeff and begged him to visit without me, because apparently it's cruel for a mother to be without her child on Christmas. Jeff politely told her he wasn't going to visit without me. She's been emotionally blackmailing him ever since, sending him pictures of stockings with his, my mom's, and my dad's names on them and saying, "But we already promised so and so that our son will be in town." This felt ridiculous and unsettling, so I called her up yesterday and explained to her that she's violating our boundaries. Jeff is not her replacement son, and no matter how much she pretends she doesn't have an actual son, she does, and it is her responsibility to make up for the damage she did to that relationship before it's too late. She started crying and called me cruel for mentioning Dan and said I have no idea what it's like to be a mother, and it's disgusting that I'm trying to deprive her of a son when she has already lost one by keeping Jeff away from her. My father agrees with my mother and Jeff agrees with me, though he doesn't like to rock the boat and thinks I should apologize anyway. I thought I did the right thing, but now I'm really not sure if I went too far. Am I the idiot? My parents adore my husband. In their eyes, he hung the moon. I have 2 brothers and everyone gets along, but I'm certain my parents would rather spend time with my husband than their own sons. And still they have never referred to him as anything other than son-in-law. They have an adult relationship with him, because he is married to their daughter, me, and that's the relationship. We've been married 26 years. He is not a replacement son, or their child from another family, or anything that in any way infantilizes that relationship. Your husband deserves to be treated as an adult by your parents. And they want him to sleep in their actual son's childhood bedroom? My father agrees with my mother? Look, there are not 2 reasonable sides to this conflict. Your parents together are rewriting history and then demanding that you not only humor them, but also forget your own brother and allow them to get creepy with your husband. You actually slept apart, with him in your brother's childhood room, so they could pretend he was your brother? Not the idiot so far, but getting close. Stand up for yourselves, your brother, and reality by setting firm boundaries. COVID is a good time for that, actually. And get some therapy. They sound emotionally abusive as hell. Not the idiot. Your parents are both off their rockers and need some serious mental help. Maybe you and Jeff should take a time out from having any contact with them for a while. Tell them you will resume contact with them when they've had a few sessions of therapy because their actions are not normal. Then you and Jeff should either block or mute them. Muting means your phone won't audibly alert or vibrate with any incoming calls or text messages. You'll still get them, but there won't be an alert. Blocking will only allow them to leave voicemails but not send you texts. I'm a 16-year-old girl, and I live with my parents and my 2 older brothers. A couple of months ago, I decided I needed to gain some weight. I am technically underweight and honestly I didn't really like the way I looked or felt. I found a bunch of ways to add some more calories into my diet, and one of those was actually eating breakfast. In the past I rarely ate breakfast, and I never ate a breakfast that was a whole meal. So I started cooking myself breakfast every day. Not only is it delicious and helps me gain weight, but I also enjoy relaxing in the morning by cooking something. I make a lot of different things, but to give you an idea, this past week I've made waffles, breakfast burritos, egg sandwiches, and oatmeal. When I first started cooking breakfast, my parents and brothers, who work from home at the moment, asked me if I could make some for them too. I said sure because I was already cooking, so it didn't bother me. Since then I've been making 5 portions of breakfast every morning, and everyone has been enjoying it. And I've gained 5 pounds. About a week ago though, my parents and my oldest brother went on sort of a health kick. They decided they wanted to eat healthier and cut down on how much fat and sugar they were eating. That's not really what I need personally, but whatever, I don't care what they eat. They decided to swap out sugar with stevia, buy these healthy yogurts with no sugar, and swap out butter with margarine. They also decided that they wouldn't cook with fats anymore, they would just use Pam. My other brother and I don't follow any of these things. Personally, I think I'm healthy enough, and the amount of sugar and butter I eat isn't going to kill me. So I still put sugar and butter into breakfast and cook with butter or oil too. Yesterday, we were all eating breakfast, and my dad asked me what was in the waffles, so I told him flour, butter, sugar, etc. He seemed surprised and asked why I didn't just use the stevia and margarine. I told him because I don't really like them and I'm trying to gain weight, so using low-calorie alternatives doesn't seem like the best idea. Then my dad asked me if I could just switch to Pam when I cook stuff, to reduce the calories a little. I told him absolutely not. Since then, my mom and other brother have tried convincing me. I've told them no several times, and now they're angry that I won't compromise. I told them if they wanted to use their low-calorie stuff, they could cook themselves. They think I'm being inconsiderate of their health and that I'm just being rude. My dad even went so far as to threaten to stop buying sugar and butter if I wouldn't be more considerate of them. I think that if I do compromise, eventually they'll ask me to swap out more and more stuff until I'm barely eating more than before. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If they want to eat certain foods, then they can cook for themselves. If you are struggling to gain and maintain your weight, you need to eat the other stuff. A lot of the healthier foods out there aren't really healthier. So much goes into some of that stuff to make them taste okay enough to eat that it's even less healthy than the stuff people are trying to avoid. Not the idiot. You said it. If they want the food a specific way, they can cook breakfast themselves. If they're going to be jerks about it, then you can go back to just cooking for yourself. In fact, you should just do that. When they ask why they don't have any food, you can tell them that you thought they needed to lose weight and didn't want your buttery, sugary food, so you didn't want to bother them with it. If they don't like it, they shouldn't eat it. You aren't a restaurant, they don't get to order and make substitutions. Unless they start paying you for breakfast. I don't mean $2 either, I mean I pay $41.71 for 2 people to eat at my favorite breakfast joint, pre-tip. Round up to 42 for ease, divide by 2, for a per person amount, and they should be paying $21 per person to get exactly what they want the way they want it. Plus tip. The other weekend my boyfriend and I hosted our families for the first time since we moved in together. This included my boyfriend's parents, grandparents, mom's parents he grew up with, and his brother, my parents and younger brother and sister. My sister is 18. When she was 7 she got really sick and afterward my parents refused to acknowledge any bad behavior and this sent her out of control. She is demanding, spoiled and selfish and has never apologized for anything she did in her entire life since that day. It always drove me crazy. My brother gets annoyed sometimes but they were closer in age and had more fun with it. I was the grumpy older sister who had to deal with her crap more. So the other weekend they were all here and she was going through our stuff. My boyfriend asked her to stop and she didn't. I made her stop and she was whining about it. Then she started asking really intrusive questions to my boyfriend's parents about why they let his grandparents live with them. Right before dinner she said she wanted pizza, not whatever crap I had made. My boyfriend told her we weren't ordering pizza just for her and she said she didn't want to eat my crap. I was so tired of her disrespect that I told her to get out of my house. She was shocked I kicked her out and thought I was joking, but I told her she was not welcome in my home if she was going to disrespect me like that. My parents are pissed I would kick her out in front of another company. I told her I was tired of the disrespect and she was acting like a child. They said I shouldn't have been bullying her. My sister is pissed that I would kick her out before she could eat, but she made it clear she wasn't going to eat what I prepared and we were not willing to pay for her to get takeout. Am I the idiot here? Should I have said nothing while my boyfriend's family was there? Not the idiot. Family or not, that's your and your BF's home. If someone is disrespecting either of you, your home, or your guest, you have every right to kick them out. Emo, you should have kicked your parents out too. Absolutely not the idiot. She's a bully. Your parents called you a bully? That's craziness. Of course you have a right to throw out awful people, including family members. It's time for people to stop thinking that they have to put up with bad behavior from people if they are relatives. If you get brave, it might help to tell your parents that they are doing her no favors by spoiling her. A good host or hostess does not allow a badly behaved guest to disrespect other invited guests. It's literally the appropriate response to check her behavior, and if she doesn't stop, tell her to leave. Nor does a host or hostess have to allow disrespect to themselves. It's literally your home. Sounds like she had a valuable life lesson. She probably won't learn from it, but I hope it eventually sinks in.